Okay. Oh man, we get to work in Animate here. And actually this tutorial should be fine if you're using Flash as well, the old Flash, right? You know what? I've been dealing with Swift and database stuff all week. I gotta just do something here to clear my mind and something creative. I mean, not to say programming isn't creative, but here's the effect that we're gonna make. It's it's a little bit similar to some of the things that you might see on the new Mickey Mouse cartoons, the kind of hip, cool ones that are for the tweens these days. Of course, we're working here in Adobe Animate. This is actually the latest 2018 edition. If you're just kind of playing around with the program for the first time, that's cool. I'll try to take it slow. I have a setup similar to this classic one over here. And if you ever can't find any of these windows that are open, well, just go over here to Windows. And let's start by turning off my notifications and beginning with a new document over here. Again, if you are just using this for the first time, just go over here to New, click on Action Script 3. No, you're not going to be doing any scripting, don't worry. But that's just where this project's going to begin. And let's give us a little bit more room on the stage to work with, maybe about 1,000 by 600. Okay, and grab the magnifying glass over there. All right. So let's begin by just creating essentially just the smoke of what you just saw in the background there. So I'm going to just grab a circle, and it is just going to be a nice black circle. That's the fill, no stroke on it. Okay, so just get rid of that. And yep, there it is. Circle, right? Go ahead and just grab another color of gray, just a little bit less bright, or just, I'm sorry, the first one wasn't gray at all, just black. And just do another circle right over top of that. And then finally switch back over here to your black, and then do something like this. Okay, so we're gonna do a few of these, all right? Take your time with it. And again, just switching over here to gray. So do something like this. And let's see. And for now, don't intersect them or anything like that. Just leave them all separate. Let's see. Trying to get it right on the inside there. And you can even take the black mouse over here and just kind of hover over to the side of one of the interior fills, this gray one, and just kind of reshape things a little bit. Just kind of bend it around like putty. And I might do that over here on this one as well. Kind of bring that up a little bit closer to the edge. Okay, let's do one more. This time around, I'll just copy and paste one of the other ones. So just kind of rotate it a little bit, get a slightly different shape. I'm hitting the Q key to hotkey over here to the free transform tool. And of course, that gives you all the little options for skewing things, squashing them, everything like that. Get in the corner, you can make it bigger and smaller. Okay, once we've got enough of those, I'd say 4 is enough. Let's go and make them. I actually don't like what I just did there. Let's make them into symbols. So I'm going to select them. I'm going to hit F8. All right. Movie clip is okay for this. There's not going to be any sort of interior animation within these symbols. So this is called Cloud 1. And I'll a little bit later on, we'll deal with a different type of movie clip or symbol, I should say. A graphic one. Cloud 3. Okay. Cloud 4. All right, now let me zoom out just a little bit here. Let's make these guys into the kind of smoky thing I had before. You can reposition the layering of these. Right now they're all on one layer, so it's kind of basically just comes down to the order in which you made them into symbols as to which one is above the other one. I'd get to know the hotkey for making these go back and forth in front of or behind things. I'm holding down the command key and doing the arrows on the keyboard. You can go over here and go to Arrange, and here's all the hotkeys. Okay, so bring to front, bring forward, send backwards. A lot of times, though, I'm just kind of moving things, forward and back. I guess, yeah. Sorry, I was playing around if you hold down Shift and Command, you go all the way forward or backwards. Okay, so yeah, we're just going to want to make a little, fun little kind of smoke cloud here. This, as you guys saw, it's really not the primary effect of this. Even though it is kind of an explosion, I think the the more fun part of this is really just the text that pops up. At least that's what I feel like more people's eye is tuned into for that explosion. So again, just kind of playing around the positioning. Maybe I'll do something a little bit, hopefully I'll do something a little bit better than what I mocked up a second ago for you guys. Okay, yeah, that's all right. What we could do is, let me just jump up one more layer over here, just so I can kind of draw on top of all this stuff and it doesn't just fall behind. If I tried to draw on that same layer with everything, because these other objects are already symbols, you know, my little fill over here would just basically drop behind them. It doesn't really take priority over stuff like that. So I'm really just trying to put something in the middle here that's going to kind of bridge some of these shapes together, kind of hopefully blend them together. But I don't want to lose all the kind of puffy roundness of the clouds that I did either. So it can be a little bit difficult. I had some trouble doing this last time, and you can see I'm just kind of reshaping things. I skipped over this a moment ago, but I did actually add one more vector point on here, and you can just hold down the Option key on the keyboard, I guess Command on the PC, and start making more points in there. And actually, one of the things I really like about Animate and Flash before that was that you're not really aware of those vector points in the same way you are if you hold down, if you have the white arrow over here, the sub selection one. You know, with this one, yeah, it's, you know, they're sort of in your face, right? I prefer to just use the black arrow and just kind of ignore that they're there. I don't know why, but I find that a little bit easier. Okay, I guess something kind of like this. I don't know. It's not a huge deal. Again, I'll just hit F8 on that, or you can just go the slowest way possible. Find convert to symbol. It's somewhere in there. And yeah, okay, that's good enough. All right, so we've now got all of our little, you know, smoke poofs or clouds over here. Nice little kind of pro tip. Right click on these guys and go to distribute to layers. And you're going to see now that put these guys on their own layers. It's actually labeled them based on the symbol name that you gave them. Now, I didn't do a good job naming this one. Let's just call this middle gray part, right? And what we can do at this point is now they're each on their own layer, we can motion tween them. So and you'll notice too that the timeline is essentially locked up here. We can't get past frame 1. No matter how hard you try, you can't move it back off 1 until you get a few extra frames in here, okay? So I'm just going to kind of select down, pull down right here, and I'm going to hit F5 on the keyboard, okay? And try to memorize that, F5. So now I've got more frames to essentially the entire movie, okay, up to frame, whatever, 17 for right now. And then I'm going to keep things kind of simple for you guys and use some classic tweens, which I still end up using more than the regular tween. Call me old-fashioned. So I'm just going to go and select right down here in a column and then hit F6. So I've now actually made a keyframe, and what that just essentially means is I go over here to this first frame now and kind of shrink these guys down, and that'll stay the same until I get over here to that keyframe that I made where we've changed things, right? So, you know, really the main point here is that we're going to interpolate the frames between 1 and wherever the rest of those are at, 10 or 11. So again, kind of select down here, anywhere, any column, doesn't matter how many frames within each row you select, just right click and go to create classic tween, and you'll see that, boom, there we go, they're all kind of coming up at us now. Generally good tip for animators, either go one way or the other, ease in or ease out, okay? See which one's going to look better for you, okay? So in this case, I think the easing out is what we want. Probably for an explosion, you're not really ever going to see it ease in, okay? Meaning the frames here are slower, okay? And if we just watch that, that doesn't make much sense, right? There's an explosion, right? So the fastest things are going to happen early on, and then it might ease out, you know. And then as we're doing this, you know, let's try to change around where these first shapes began at, right? So we can kind of compress them up a little bit, make them a little, tighten them in here. Okay, now you might not really see that. Okay, And yeah, it is kind of hard to tell that. But what we can do is let's kind of rattle this thing once it comes up. So, and I'm going to go about 2 frames, a couple, maybe 3 frames after this initial one, or after this one. And then again, just right click, go to create classic tween. And then let's make this a bit bigger. Okay. So now it's going to do something like that. See what's happening there. And on this one, then we can start to kind of move things around, and then we should be able to, or the viewer should be able to get a sense that, oh, okay, these are their, it's not just one cloud, it's actually more than one shape making these things up, right? See how you can kind of sense that now? And then again, let's take a look at it. By the way, and I actually haven't been telling you guys how to preview it. I mean, you can certainly preview by just, you know, kind of thumbing through the timeline here. But if you hit enter on the keyboard, that'll give you a little preview within basically the editor itself. Or you can go over here to test scene, test movie, and hotkey, although it's not showing it, it's just command and then the return key or enter key. And I guess on the PC, what is that? Control? Okay. Not that much of a rattle though, right? It's almost a little bit too smooth. So let me move this back down like that. And then what I'm going to do, I'll grab a few columns of frames over here, and then I'm going to hit F6 on all of them. So it's going to make keyframes for each one of those. And then let's kind of go down a bit here. Now this is automatically going to go back up because that's how we keyed it, right? So leave that one the same. Let's go back down again. And again, this one after that's going to go back up. So now we've got something like this, right? Bam. And I think we've probably got a few too many frames here in the beginning. So a good little lesson. Again, you can select. So I've got 3 selected over here. I'm just going to right click and go over here to remove frames. And that's going to push everything, you know, back down toward frame 0 and tighten things up. Okay, so now certainly it's looking like it's rattling a little bit. It's I think we get a little bit out of the stage here. So great tool to know early on. Go over here to edit multiple frames. And well, we could also make the stage itself bigger, but this is important to know. See these handles over here that showed up when I clicked on edit multiple frames? I can move them across all the frames that I want to select. Okay. And then just go over here to select all. And again, using, I'm going to hit Q, switch over here to the free transform tool. And we can now shrink everything down uniformly. Okay. And you'll see now it doesn't, you know, fall out of the frame. Okay. So now let's go through here. And again, let's kind of mess around with some of this stuff, change it around. You could even probably get away with skewing some things, rotating them, just so people start to get the sense that, again, these are all different little units. Okay, good little jitter to it. We could also, let's come over here to the frame above. I'm going to hit F7, which makes a blank keyframe here, which means I can start putting things or just drawing things onto this keyframe, and you'll notice that they exist from that point outward, but not before that. Okay, so I just drew a little line over there with the line tool. Let's make that a bit bigger, maybe about that big. Change the width over here to this one, width profile 1, so it has this nice little ease out or a tapering effect on both ends. And I'm going to copy this, put it over here on both sides. And by the way, I held down the option key and then just hit the arrow key. So you'll see that flips things around. Actually, you know what? Is that a... Can't remember if there's a default hotkey or not. I think it is. Okay, but this is what I'm doing. Flip transform, flip vertical. So we can do that at a few other places too. Okay. So kind of a typical cartoony effect here. And then on the next frame, let's hit F6 on it, and I'm going to move it out on each one of these. And then I'm also going to trim it up a little bit too. So I'm just going to select right over there, delete out, select over there, delete out. So just on each end. And what's nice too is that you'll notice that it keeps that nice tapering effect. Now, while you're doing this, if you notice that when you select, you accidentally kind of click or select one of these movie clips over here, that's annoying. Go over here to your preferences and find, let's see, drawing, selection, toggle this off if it's on. Okay, that's a terrible thing to have on, I think. Really annoying. When I'm selecting movie clips, I like to just know that, okay, I have to select the entire thing or otherwise it's not going to get selected. Trust me, that's a lot easier. Okay, so just doing the same thing again, just kind of trimming all this stuff up. And then we'll hit F7 over here so that blanks them out. Let's take a look. We could probably stand to make these a bit smaller. So if you ever want to select everything that is on one frame, right, like I'm doing right now, just select the frame itself, okay? Hit the A tool or A hotkey, get over here, selection tool, or whatever that hotkey is telling you. There you go. So we can just take down the stroke all at once on those. Yeah, that worked. And I think this these 3 frames should actually be over here. Okay. Which case, let's see. Maybe go 1. Yeah, there we go. Well, I just didn't want this one to be, want it to be out. Oop. Just gonna have to push it out. Okay, so we've kind of got our little smoke effect in there, right? I feel like we not only should we kind of shrink things up and down as it comes out, or you know, as it kind of wobbles. Let's go up and down with it too. I'm gonna hit F6 again. Yep, kind of digging it. I remember too, we've got more effects to add. So this is really kind of not even our primary effect. Okay, so bump it up and down. And let's do this. Let's make the stage a little bit darker in the background. And let's add in maybe about here, maybe in the beginning. Let's just take a square, let's draw it over top. I'm going to hit F8 on it. Just, I don't really have to make it a symbol, but that way I don't accidentally select part of it. Oh, I meant to hit F7 there. So now we've just got this one frame that's all white. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down below my bottommost cloud. And after that frame, I'm going to hit F7 here. And let's put in some white here. Scale it down a bit so we still see a little bit of it. So now it's kind of got this, you know, make it a bit smaller. Almost like this sort of nuclear effect a little bit in here. And we'll do, we could also do a kind of a spark over top of this. Okay, so let's go and do that maybe right here. For this, I'm going to do just a square. And again, just moving around the points that make this thing up. Let me go ahead and lock every other layer but the one that I'm on. So I'm going to move this guy out here, this guy out here, this guy out here. I guess I could have just made a bigger square. And then I'm going to hold down the Option key, I guess, on the PC, that's Control, and then just, you know, start pulling in and making new points. Okay, so we could, you know, we could do another one over here. So it's just kind of this real sort of inexpensive spark. Didn't cost us anything, right? Didn't have to go find this on some royalty-free website. Look at that. There we go. Let's maybe make some of them kind of have a variable length to them. And let's hit F6 again. So this will stay for a bit longer. Maybe make it a bit bigger. We could even start to move some of these interior points out. I'm not going with any particular stage size here. Again, if I wanted to kind of increase it, that's, this is not really, it's not like it's like 1920 by 1080. It's just some random number. I might even drag, so here's a nice little tip. You can copy, drag frames. So hold down the Option key. I'll let you figure that out on the PC. Not sure it's the Option. And then just scale it down. You can even flip it around so it looks a little bit different than the frame after it. Right. Hey, my watch went off. So that way it's, what this hopefully looks like is you got this, your kind of big flash, and then you got something going on behind it, which then maybe kind of goes through it, right? And then let's do maybe one more frame where it's kind of almost bulging out, maybe like this. Probably make the whole thing a little bit bigger. And then almost just for the heck of it, let's play around with the shape tween. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and just hit F6 out here, and keep in mind I'm using, just fill artwork at this point. Nothing is a symbol. Right click, get ready to create shape tween. You'll notice you get this slightly different tween color over here. This one, this time around, what we'll do then is just change the shape, okay? And it's going to do its best to interpolate between those, okay? It's going to always have some fun effects. We don't necessarily know that it's going to succeed. Okay, so far it's looking good. The possibility here is that what it might decide to do is make this point go to here or something like that. So far, so good. And that's kind of a neat little effect. Let me try something. Let me ease out on that. See how that looks. At which point right here, so what we want to do is probably have it kind of like look like it's sucking in almost. So let me add a few more frames out this way. Just hit F5 so we got a little bit more to work with. At some point, and actually we might as well just do it now, let's go ahead and I'm going to copy drag those frames out there. Let's go ahead and make our clouds, our smoke, small too. Okay. So again, create classic tween. I'm going to ease those in. So it does something like that. And then, yeah, let's play around with. Okay. At this point, I think I actually am going to hit F8 on this. So let's just call it spark. Now that's not going to mess with that shape tween over here because remember this is only these two had to be the actual shapes. Now that this can be a symbol just fine. So let's go ahead and make this guy tween down to a kind of microscopic size. I'm already kind of going off of, venturing away from the example I showed you guys. So hopefully you're okay with that. And then as that is getting smaller, let's go over here and go to rotate clockwise. The problem with this, let's see. All right, well, here's the problem. I'm going to undo a few steps to before I was tweening it. And actually, there we go. Make sure there's no keyframe after that. Here's the problem. It's rotating around that point, okay? So again, I'm using I got the free transform tool selected here. What I want to do is I want to move this pivot point right into the middle, and that way when I do tween this thing, see what it's going to do. It's going to pivot right around that point. Okay, so let's try that. So again, I'm just going to copy it, drag out, or I could just hit F6 over here. Create classic tween. Let's ease this one in, and then make it smaller and rotate it as well. Okay, so rotate. I need to see nothing after this for a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna put. I gotta kind of clear my eyes on this thing to be able to look at it. Yeah, I do actually like that. I feel like this should stay a bit longer though. And I mean, you could also have a little bit of fun. Let's see. I'm just going to make a white circle right here. Hit F8 on it. I just want to get this right over top of where that's at. So let me put it on a frame below. A layer below, I should say. So what I'm going to try to do is just make this drop down afterwards. So I hit F6 on that, create a classic tween, and again, I'm using a lot of ease ins, not as many ease outs. So let's see. Yeah, I actually dig that. All right, so one of the nice things about using symbols is you'll notice that I've already put keyframes over here on each one of these guys. Oh, you can't see it's below there, but I can double click into this. Oops, got the wrong one. Let me lock that. I can double click into the circle and change the. Essentially, I'm in a timeline of its own now for just this circle, and I can change the shape of this, and that's going to affect every other keyframe that it's on. Okay. I don't know. I guess. Let me try putting one frame back there, and then. Nope, that wasn't what I wanted. That's okay. All right, we still got to add some text to this thing. Again, this is, to me, this was not the primary objective. But I did kind of like that little spark dribbling down at the end. I think it could be even a little bit smaller, maybe about 60%. Let's see. Yeah. Let me try one other thing here. I'm going to ease this out. I'm going to yeah, that's a little bit funnier, I feel like. It kind of slowly goes down. Decisions, right? The other thing here is, oops. Is it maybe just a little bit too pointy at this point? See what happens when you just let me burn through your day. Yeah, I think I like it a little bit compressed there at the end. And maybe it's just a tad too long. So I'm just going to go to remove frames. Okay, all right, that's fine. Good, just let it go. Although if you wanted, you could add in a glow to the movie clip. So you could put in here something like this. And I'm just in the filters. I'm going to set that to high. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that kind of loses some of the retro cool that we got going on here. All right, so let's go ahead and add some text up here. So I'm just going to be working on a couple layers above where we're currently at. So just kind of keep track of this text. And yeah, let's grab the T tool over here. I'm going to set this to a good old Blambot font. I'm pretty sure you can get this font through blambot.com. And if not, just use, hey, any old font you want for this, okay? What I teach you here should work for most relatively simple fonts. So let me arrange these letters. Oh, and I went ahead. That's kind of a step ahead of you. I'm sorry. So, all right, now I'm just back to being able to type inside of here. But what you can do is you can break this apart. So go over here to break apart or Command B, and then you can adjust each letter individually. Okay, do something like that. Make some of them smaller, bigger, whatever you want to do. Squash them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit break apart one more time. Okay, so now we've broken this down to just fill artwork where we can manipulate it like so. And one neat effect that I like to use is where we just over time make the letters kind of shrink in. Okay, so leave these as is for a moment. In fact, if you want, you could even copy drag out another frame over here and just make this into a symbol. But leave this one as your fill artwork. So anyway, you can kind of get back to this original if you need it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit F. Oh, actually, for you guys, go over here to transform, and what we're going to do is, shape. I'm like, where is it? Expand fill. So obviously I have a hotkey for this. Since I don't know. Anytime I don't know where something is, it's because I've got a hotkey for it that I rely on. So what I did is I just inset the shape. Okay, so you can see it got a little bit thinner. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Hit expand fill, but we're actually just insetting it. Okay, and eventually at some point we're going to come into a problem. Okay, and it looks like I'm coming to it sooner than I thought I would. Where well, obviously saw that red filled in over there. Okay, that's not what we want at all, but we can deal with this. So let me go up one layer, and I'm going to hit F7 over top this empty layer over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these interior shapes, because eventually it's going to do it to a circle too. And then I'm just going to fill them in. Okay, so now I've got these purple shapes over here, and then I'm going to cut those off and then paste them back in place again on top of this layer. Okay, so now I can go over here again with the red layer, inset this. Okay, all right, now if it does that goofy thing to the red like it did before, that's okay, because what we could do is we could take the purple shapes, we could over here, we could expand them, right? They expanded out fine, and then paste those guys on top of there. Okay, so I basically just took them off of here, pasted them back in place again. Get to know this hotkey, Shift, Command B, and then I'll delete them out. Okay, so I still got the effect that I was looking for, and we'll keep doing that. Okay, so F6. Again, I want to inset this. All right, so again, same problem. This time around, I got to fill in this and this. Cut those off. Hit F7, go back over here, inset them, take these guys, expand them, maybe even expand them a bit more, cut them off of there, put them into there. Okay, get rid of that. All right, so it's kind of we're not going to have to do it that many more times. So let's see. All right, still failing. At a point I thought it would just give up. I'm going to do the same. At least the O's aren't doing it. The first time I messed around with doing this, the O's were the problem. Okay, so inset it. Expand fill, where we actually expand it. Let's do it one more time. Paste that in place back onto here. Okay, and now we're starting to lose our B shape, which actually could help us out. In fact, let's move this one out. Oops. I meant to inset. Okay. Yeah, now it's going our way. I'm going to make the distance just be 1. So hopefully I can just kind of ease this thing out now. Oh, it's thinking about it. That's never a good sign, especially when you haven't saved the file. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Here's the lesson. Save your files. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like what it's doing right now. The only thing worse than this would be if I didn't see that ticking upwards. which has happened before, where I'll go, oh, wait a minute, was I not actually recording this? So here's what's probably happening. So we're doing inset on this, and the shape is now getting more and more degraded, right? So, and you can kind of see it down here in this little corner where it's just, like we're probably asking a black hole to reverse on itself. Essentially, it's just it's trying to think like, well, wait a minute, what do I do here? I've got to go into another shape to inset. And again, this is a new version of this is the 2018 version of Adobe Animate. It's rare I would see it have that. Delay that long. Okay, so let me save the file. Okay, and now let's zoom out a little bit. We've pretty much gotten rid of it. It's a nice effect. It just slowly goes away. What we could do is we could copy. Let's go ahead and copy all these frames. So I'm going to go over here, right click on them, go to copy frames, and then I'm going to make a new symbol. Okay, let's just call this boom fade. And then I'm going to paste those frames into there. So right click, go paste frames. All right, you can see got the same thing. I would go ahead and just add in a few more frames after this, because what we're going to do is we're going to actually set this to be a graphic clip. So it could potentially loop back for us. We don't want that looping to happen. All right, go ahead and get rid of what you've already done. Okay, hit F7 over here, and then go to your library. That's where your symbols are all at. All right, there's library. Select this guy, and you can hit the little eye icon over here, properties. Go ahead and set it to a graphic clip. I should have done that a moment ago when I created it, but that's okay. All right, so then drag it out of the library. And you can change between graphic and movie clip anytime you want, but easier if we just do it in the library there. And you'll notice now I've got this like self-contained unit of animation, okay, which I can see on the timeline, which is also going to be important for exporting this. If we were to export a PNG sequence. Okay, so nice thing about this is now I could go and I could tween this in itself too, right? So I could go over here, create classic tween. It's a little hard to see because it's disappeared at that point. In fact, you know what? I better do it on the last frame. Hold on. I'm going to hit F6 there and just clear this out. All right, so can move that around. Do something like that. And that looks pretty good. Let me move these a little bit over here because what I want to do is I want to have a bit of fun with just this first frame over here. Okay, so I just did that copy drag and made a new frame over there. I'm going to break this apart. And again, you can do that over this way using break apart. So now I'm actually basically taking the graphic clip. I've broken it down kind of one layer, essentially one level. And if you remember, let me just cut back over here. The first frame of this had that movie clip right here, the original text. So when I went over here and I broke that apart, now I'm just back to that original movie clip. Okay. All right, so it's no longer, if I were to double click inside of here, it's not the timeline that you saw before, it's just the fill art for that. Okay, so let's bring in this boom from, so let's kind of step back a little bit here. Let's go and make it come in strong too. So again, this time I'd say ease it out. So it kind of comes in like that and then fades away, right? And let me just take a look. I feel like, though, what we need to do is, let me move these a little bit further. And then I'm going to hit F6 a few times over here. So let's make it come in even bigger here. Kind of go back and settle back down a little bit. But let's do that. Maybe bring this up. And you can always duplicate these. Okay, because I'm not really tweening them at that point. Really, the kind of rule of thumb here for your motion tweens is one symbol per layer that you're going to tween. But because these are all just, keyframe after keyframe, it doesn't matter. And this is always a nice little animation effect where you kind of maybe double or triple things up. It always seems like things are moving a lot. See if you just kind of go through there, it seems that way. So up, down. See how that looks. Definitely got some good energy to it. I would say on the one before we start descending this back down, maybe move it up a little bit, or just that. Here, let me hit F5 and go one more frame. So it's just going to push that out. And then I'd even squeeze this and stretch it a bit. Let's see. Yeah. And you know what? Let's see. I'm stepping through here. Let me make one of these bigger. Yeah, I think I like that a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I think that's... Oh, you know what? The other thing I was going to show you guys. If you wanted to, you can make another layer over here, grab all this stuff that you've already got, hit, you can just hit Option on it, drag it down to copy it, or you could go and come right, do copy frames and then hit F7 and paste those frames in there. Either way is fine. Let me remove those at the end. Let me just blank these out. Okay, so basically I've got a duplicate of all that text. Let me lock everything but the duplicate layer. And then I'm going to go over here to edit multiple frames, and what you talked about before. Let's select everything on there. So go over here to select all. Then I'm going to tint them so that they are kind of a darker red. And kind of release yourself from tinting it for a second. There you go. Just toggle this on and off. Again, select them. There you go. Otherwise, what happens is you end up, when you use the directional arrows, it ends up making the tint go down. All I want to do is just kind of use the directional arrows on the keyboard, just slightly move everything here. And then that way you can see that you can kind of double up the text if you wanted. And you could even, let me do it again. Let me go over here. And if you don't like the tint, you could always go over here to Advanced Alpha, and then take the alpha down on it. See if that's something that's even cooler. So kind of a, see how that looks. And I'd say actually that's probably the better of the two. One thing I might even go into this symbol and hit F5 between each of these frames, or basically hit F5 on each of them, so we're just inserting in another frame. So it just spends a little bit more time kind of fading away. And at which point what you could do is you could just drag these out a bit. The only issue is you'll notice that this last frame is going to pop back to being somewhere, I don't know. We've confused it essentially. So try to just, yeah, you can just take that out like this. Yep. I just want to see how that looks. Yeah, I don't know. It's maybe it's an undo. Oh well, I tried. Okay, that's all right. Should we compare what came before? Boom 1 to Boom 2. Let's see if I can leave that open. Go over to here, run this one. Get them both in the same frame. I don't know. I think I'm going to get a seizure looking at this. It's a little bit too flashy. So anyway, I think that'll do it for this lesson. Be sure you check out the Cartoon Smart TV app. That's for iOS and tvOS. Lessons like this are free. A lot of them are free for a while, a long time, possibly. And then they might not be free. Okay, we'll just see. And then be sure to check out cartoonsmart.com, where we've got all sorts of the premium goodies as well, not just the free swag like this. But love to have you as a regular app user, even if you never pay up. It would be great if you did, but you don't have to. All right, talk soon.